So it is Sunday and I'm just about to go on a little bit of a longer run, and so it's actually going to test out a new route that I'm planning on doing with club at some point in the future. Don't know when it might be. It might not be a summer route, winter route, sorry, so I might have to keep it up my sleeves for summer. But for now I've got to go run over to club, then start my loop, then run back, so it should be about a good 15k in all, something like that. We could just talk about how to plan a route really, and what I found has worked. Just coming up to club now. So my first tip for planning a route is know where it's going to start. Whether you're starting from your house, someone else's house, know where that point is, because then you know, well, you know the distance. There's no point planning it from somewhere random just to realise you've got to travel 5k to get there. That'd be so annoying, wouldn't it? And also going hand in hand with that, know where you're going to be able to finish. Whether you're doing a circular route to finish at the same place, or you're doing a point to point, make sure you know, oh, I need to stop at this train station or this bus stop to get the bus back, or this is where my friend can pick me up. It's all pretty useful to know whilst you're planning your route. Expo Arena's just over this bank here, and that's where my full loop will start and end. Second tip, and this probably sounds really simple, but know either the amount of time you want to run for or the distance. So if you know you want to run for 10k, try and plan a route that's 10k. If you know you're running for an hour, work out what kind of pace you want to do, and then therefore how far you'll be running for. If you're doing an out and back, it's probably a little bit easier because you know, oh, at half an hour if I turn around, I should be back at the start point. Obviously, if it's hilly, it probably won't end up like that, but should be fairly close. So if I run today, I've literally just used Strava to plan the route. I think you can only do it if you've got a premium membership. Let's wait for this tractor. But what you can do is set up a start point on the Strava maps and then pick a distance, and then it will roughly plan one based on what other users have done. So it's usually one that's pretty well paved if you're doing a paved run. Trail routes can be a little bit funny, but overall it's been alright. Oh, I need to cross. Let's go. It can take a little bit of faff though. So sometimes if you're doing the 10k route, it will only come up with 8k's. And what you'll need to find, you need to flip between two different distances to just keep changing them. It can also be fairly repetitive in what it gives you. So if you like the look of one, save it. If you're connected up to Garmin, it will favourite it and then send it straight to the Garmin Connect app, and then you can sync it to your watch from there. If you're running in a new area, that's definitely something I would suggest, is using an app to kind of automatically find you a route, because it's just so much easier than trying to think of one and work out whether the streets are good enough. Next little tip for planning a route is have a look, see if there's any kind of like trails nearby. So in Exeter, we've got the green circle, and I'm actually running on part of it right now. And it's just this path that goes all the way around kind of the outskirts of Exeter, taking in most of the green spaces. So if you want to get away from the hustle that is kind of city centre, it does go through the quay though, so it's not all quiet. And it's quite a nice path to follow. You can jump on at quite a few different points. Some of it's tarmacked, some of it's just traily. Right now it's gravelly. If trail isn't for you, then have a look at the cycle paths. So there might be a cycle path connecting it up with another place, or maybe even you're lucky just to have a big round cycle track. Cycle tracks are more likely to be paved because bikes just don't really appreciate gravelly surfaces as much, and that can just take out quite a lot of the planning in your routes and just almost give it to someone else. You're like, hey, I'm just going to follow what you've made. And then you're also using the infrastructure that has been provided, and it's just nice sometimes not to be just running around all the houses all the time, because that can get a little bit boring, especially if you're used to just doing the same route over and over again and seeing the same cars, the same streets. Getting out, trying something a bit different to what you'd usually do can be a nice little breathing exercise. Next tip, know who you're making the route for. So if it's just you, know whether you like hills, whether you want it flat, and if you're doing it for a group, know what kind of level they're at. So I know for the group that I'm trying to make this route for, hills are preferred at the start, and then also I think so far there's probably been a bit too many. So whilst it's nice, I think there's some quite steep gradients up this path that I think just isn't best, especially during winter when you can't really see. So I think perhaps I need to rethink the start of this route, but then hopefully I can find somewhere to join it on where we perhaps haven't done so much elevation. But in a second we'll come out that viewpoint, so that'll be nice. See the morning, because it's still should be about 8 o'clock on a Sunday, so it's still fairly quiet. I'm probably not doing this route as fast as I want to, but again, Sunday, I don't really mind. I'm just out here to get my legs going. Right, Sunday morning view achieved. So I'm going to get going, do a bit more of this route, and then check back in with you. Right, my last tip whilst we're out and about, because for some reason the battery's dying, I'll do some more when I get back in, is to use the routes and roads that you know. Especially if you know the area, you're going to know what's best to do, rather than an app or a planner. Just go through all the routes you know, that way on the run you'll be a bit more confident about which way you're going. Alright, so we're back from the run, and I didn't get a chance to say a few things because GoPro batteries apparently don't last as long as I thought they did. So the next tip I have for you is to go around and test your route. I pretty much always do this because I'm just never really too sure like where to go, and I just like to know if I'm taking someone else, like, hey, it's this turning, we're going left here, we're going right here. It just makes it all a lot easier in my head to know where the route is before we've even tried it like properly with someone else. When you do that test, like, do accept that it isn't really the run where you should be going full blast or doing intervals or things like that, because you just don't know what the route is like unless you're absolutely certain that all the roads are absolutely fine. Like, that would be an alright route to just go full out on. I think most of the time though, you are a little bit unsure, so you don't know, like, there might be tarmac that's got lots of like divots in because it's got potholes, or tree roots. It might, like, for some of these houses, like, have such a small pavement outside that if it's bin day, you know, you don't get a pavement, you've just got to kind of dodge the parked cars and the bins, and you know, you just don't want to be running at full speed down that. You also never really know what the hills are like. Like, it's okay if you planned it on like a computer or an app, it will give you a gradient profile, but until you're actually on that hill, you do not know how it feels. So just
accept that it will be slower the first time that you do it, and don't make it your key session of the week to try a new route. Like, definitely make that your low key session, one that you're just doing maybe for a bit of fun, or just, you know, just to try the new route, really. That's good enough reason to go out and run, isn't it? This almost goes hand in hand with the other one, and that is to watch out for major crossings that you might be doing when you're planning your route. So you might realise that as you're kind of looking at the streets when you're planning it, that there's quite a big junction at certain sections. Just do watch out for them. You can find that sometimes there's only traffic lights on one side of the road, or maybe to get across you've got to go across multiple islands. These might not sync up in the way you want to, so just be aware that traffic lights can slow you down, and that if you are planning a route that does go around different junctions, just know that they're around, and so you're not running like full speed into them and, you know, running out into a busy road. But hopefully everyone's got a little bit of common sense and they kind of know that already. Obviously, if you've got experience of the area, you might know like, oh, that's a bit of a dodgy crossing for pedestrians, and maybe just trying to find an alternative. And if you've done the tip before and you have kind of gone out and tested it, hopefully you might have been able to work out, well, actually, if I stay on this side of the road, I don't have so many crossings. Or you might find that actually the left side, it's safer, you know, because sometimes pavement's bigger or smaller on different sides of the roads. So again, just knowing those things when you come and do the route is a lot more useful than just, you know, throwing all of your friends into this route that may or may not be the best route for them. Right, so tip number 9 is one that is kind of more helpful for longer routes, and that is to have opt-out points. I know you want to do the full run, but sometimes the runs just don't go to plan, and so you will find that maybe your stomach starts hurting, maybe you just feel really ill, maybe you've run out of food and you're like, oh no, I really need to get something. Having kind of different bits on your route where you might be able to get something or go home are just really useful when you are planning those longer routes. So opt-out points might be, say like, oh, you know, if you turn right at this junction instead of left, you'll get home quicker. You might have a point where you're like, okay, if I stop here, I can get the train back. If I stop here, there's a bus. If I stop here, I can refill my water bottle. There's a shop here if I run out of food, or if I need some more like drinks. All of these are quite useful if you're trying to be self-sufficient and you don't have someone that might be able to pick you up or things like that. Additionally, for kind of longer routes, you might actually just want to do loops. And it might, if you're a little bit worried, it might make you feel a bit safer. So maybe you've got a little loop around by your house that's like 10k and you're supposed to be doing a 30k. Maybe just doing 3 loops of that 10k will make you feel a bit safer. You know, every 10k, okay, I can go back, fill up my water bottle in the kitchen, and go to the toilet. All of those things that will just make the route feel a bit more comfortable, as opposed to like quite a slog. Because it shouldn't feel like, well, sometimes it should feel hard, but it shouldn't feel like upsetting that the route is slightly weird. So definitely do your best to make the route good for you or whoever's running it for you. Right, so if you've got this far in this video, you've listened to 9 tips that I've had for building your own route and for your running. This bonus tip is if you know how to plan a route and you want a little bit of inspiration. So my tip for getting inspiration is maybe just to try and build yourself your own challenge. So maybe you want to build an A to Z alphabet challenge. So maybe you try really hard to only go down streets that have an A in it, and then the next time only streets with a B. Obviously, I would assume there's probably quite a lot of routes that you couldn't really figure out. I mean, how many streets have a Y in or a Z? Might be a bit tricky, but just something to get your creative juices like flowing whilst you're out planning your routes. There's also things that you could do. So maybe you want to just try and find a route that has 5 bridges in. Maybe you want to pass by as many train stations as you can. There are a few different things that you can do to, well, make the route a little bit more enjoyable, make the planning process a little bit easier, because you know, okay, I'm going to try and incorporate this into it. I'm going to try and incorporate this in it. And it can just make it a little bit smoother process for you. Then, of course, if you want to look for a little bit more of an advanced challenge, you can go and try and make a route that draws a little picture. So of course there are quite a few little Strava artists out there who draw lots of intricate things with every single run that they ever do. But I think for us mere mortals, it's probably pretty tricky to do and just a lot time consuming. So maybe like once a year, you maybe want to just set yourself the challenge of trying to make a little bit of Strava. I think about 2 years ago, I tried to make like a little reindeer for Christmas. I don't really know if it turned out much. You might see it on screen now. And yeah, just give yourself something different to do, and hopefully you all have a great time running. That's it for this video, and I hope you all enjoyed. So I hope you all have a great time running, and I will see you next time.